Hello. So I've had this list of things that for COVID 19 and basically life lessons from the lockdown period. Some of these I didn't consider before, some of them I already felt was the case, but it really hit home during the COVID 19 lockdown. Um, Hold on one second. So let's get started. Most people, at least, um, quarantined or socially distanced due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. But when it's all done, life will not be the same for a while, and a lot of lessons can be drawn from this pandemic. Do you know COVID-19 in full is coronavirus disease, and 19 is the year it broke out? And much as most people are doing self quarantine in their homes, when it comes to life, there's always something new everyone can learn every single day, and that's why this list was created. To learn something new every day that's useful and applicable in our everyday lives. Actually, doing this during this pandemic would be a very good time to learn something new and useful indoors. And during this trying movement, there are definitely some life lessons you have learned by the time you come out of this quarantine, or at least the end of this pandemic if you are not in quarantine. So below are I have some things you can learn. So number one, I actually kind of already felt this was the case because of the technological advances in our world. Number one is actually internet is not a luxury. In a couple of countries before the coronavirus outbreak, the internet has been seen as a luxury to pass time. But as of now, it is a utility. Most people have been advised to work from home. And to most people, working from home means using the internet, which was initially seen as a pastime service. You also have like kids who are going to school and now they need the internet and they don't have it because their parents saw it as So number two was we eat to live, not live to eat. This is a really important lesson, but a question being answered. It comes during this period. Most people have become victims in that most people want to move out of their homes because they need to buy food. And others can't stay indoors and have to work in order to get a day's food, as some people can actually only attain a meal a day. Actually, some people can only attain a meal by work a day, which actually means we eat to live, since as it turns out, if you don't eat, you will die before you get infected by the virus. And then I have number three as look for the positive. They had something else here, but I don't know. I didn't agree with their point. So I put in something else of look for the positive. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorns have roses. If you take away just one thing from COVID-19 incident, and this post is this: in every situation, no matter how negative it is, you can always find a spark of light. And this is always the case here. So remember, there is no rainbow without the rain, and after the rain comes is the sunshine. So for every life matters. Even though most people don't know who has died personally, the number of deaths is really frightening, even though the number of survivors is really encouraging and shows anyone can overcome. But for those who fail to make it, they meant something to someone, and their lives matter in that respect. I personally don't even know anyone. Bangor, Maine hasn't really been affected by it like some of the other parts of Maine, like Cumberland County and York County have been hit really hard for it in Maine. So number five, don't underestimate any person's job. I think we're seeing this now more than ever because people are like, hey, these are just Walmart employees. I've heard many people say that, but the thing is, they're doing a hard job now during this. They kept the shelves stocked. They deserve respect and a fair livable wage. 6, money can buy medicine, but not health. Who doesn't want to be rich? Even though this corona outbreak, some people would be willing to work in high-risk areas to earn living for themselves. The virus has shown you don't need to be rich to be infected. And since there is no medicine for it, your money may not offer you any guarantees. 7, another thing we learned, unfortunately, is that people are selfish. For those of you who don't know this, human beings are inherently selfish. In other words, people are selfish by nature. We only care about ourselves before we consider others. That's why some people made panic buys of essential commodities, leaving the supermarkets completely empty, almost nothing for others. You also realize that most countries didn't care about the outbreak of the virus in China until it affected them. And that's when even the search for a vaccine started. This literally means no one cares about you unless there are directly or indirectly affected by the problem. 8, always make your house a home you love to live in. Interestingly, during this pandemic, some people hate their homes and want to go out to a bar or a park or at least stay at work doing nothing because they can't bear staying in the house because of boredom. So I've actually been working on this. My place, I've done a million different coping skills. Candles, arts and crafts stuff, internet stuff, that kind of stuff. I've learned something new. I've started making videos of me talking about different topics, whether people watch them or not. That's great. I mainly made them for me because I've actually learned a lot personally while doing this, and it's actually helped me with my schoolwork. So, it's a win-win for me. So, number 9, we are never ready to die, but use your time very well, much as we are always told to live each day like it's our last one. Like, if you love someone, tell them, because they may not be the last chance you get or the last time you may get to see them, but most people hardly ever do that at all. This kind of reaffirms that. We also can't plan for what we can't predict, so we didn't predict this, pandemic, but anyway. 10, a lot of diseases or infections are caused by this or spread through poor hygiene. Well, I won't run you through a whole wash your hands, but on a serious notice, practicing good hygiene will help you prevent a lot of diseases, and not necessarily only the coronavirus. 11, people believe by seeing. This one goes into a religious aspect of it. But I'm going to leave that part out of it because this person was really, Anyway. Most people or even countries only took the coronavirus pandemic seriously after seeing the numbers of infections and deaths only increasing. That's what they mean by people only believe by seeing. See, he put it in a religious aspect. I don't, because I put it in a real world. Like, if I told you there was a purple elephant in this room right now, like, there's a purple elephant right there on my couch, you wouldn't believe me. And then I'm like, oh, it's invisible, you can't see it. You're still not going to believe me. But if I did something to make it so you could see that purple elephant, you'd believe me, because you could see it. So, that's kind of my take on that aspect of it. So 12, we should always take our personal health serious. Most of the people recovering from the coronavirus are a result of their immunity fighting back, since there is no medicine as of right now. This is where you realize the old saying, health is wealth, is true. And the life we have is a priceless possession. 13, you shouldn't always count on your government. Well, government taxes you, so definitely you owe them a lot. But there are no guarantees, as even some situations are hard for them to control how things will run. For instance, in Italy, most hospitals are full, and it can take about 7 hours for an ambulance to get to you to take you to the hospital. And even the hospitals are full with lack of enough ventilators. Now that's a situation where even the government cannot help you on a personal basis, and you will have to save yourself. 14, you definitely need to get hobbies, not a hobby. So I have several things I can switch to when I get bored of one. And some people thought that, well, I can't do that. But during this, it's having a backup plan. So, like, you can do indoors, for example. Like, say your hobby is outside, but we're all stuck inside. What are you going to do? So that was how number 15 says you should learn how to cook. One of the activities you should be able to do during lockdown is cook for yourselves, since most restaurants and stuff are closed. 16, practice saving money. Depending on your current situation, you should either learn how to save money or practice. I've done this before the lockdown, but once it started, I admit I've gotten a little bit better about it. So 17, friends and family are really useful in lots of ways. And then number 18 is you're all connected to each other. So the conclusion, otherwise, if you were learning nothing or you have learned nothing during this period, then you were probably never affected in any way for some reason, or you just wasted the whole lockdown period. There are lots of things you can learn from this pandemic, and we would love to hear from you the life lessons you have learned from the coronavirus global pandemic outbreak. So I'd love to hear from you too. This article says they would. I'd love to hear from you too. If you want to put something in the comments, I'd love to hear it. So thanks for watching.